Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, then welcome. My name's Christina, and on my channel we talk all things beauty from my own experiences. Today we are going to be testing out all of the brand new makeup that has been popping up in the last couple of weeks, maybe the last couple of months. I thought that this would be really fun since we're going into fall time, a brand new season. I have a bunch of different things from primers, foundations, a couple of eyeshadow products, and more. So let's get started. First of all, we're going to go in with this brand new Merit Great Skin Priming Moisturizer. The directions on this say after cleansing and applying Great Skin Serum, massage 1 to 2 pumps onto the skin. Follow immediately with your next step, SPF or makeup, before moisturizer dries down. Now I'm going to use this more as like a moisturizing step. I did recently do my skincare and I do have a moisturizer and SPF on underneath it, but I do want to try this out on camera with you guys. It does seem like slightly more of a thick moisturizer when it comes to a pump moisturizer, you know. It's definitely not thick like a nighttime moisturizer, but it glides on really well. Feels very nice and lightweight. I don't think that there's any added fragrance to this. It doesn't smell like it. I can feel a little bit more of a slip to it. This kind of feels similar in texture to like Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream in the sense where it feels like it almost has this slightly oily film to it, but I anticipate that this is actually going to dry down pretty well. And it does say to apply your next step before the primer moisturizer dries down, but I am going to be using another primer product today. It is this one from Milk. It is their Milk Hydro Grip and Glow Primer. It's essentially the same formulation as their Hydro Grip primer, except this one does have a gold shimmer to it. And I have used this one time already just because I could not wait to use it. And it looks very intimidating here, but when you put it on the skin, it kind of just blends right in. Do you see that? At least for my medium complexion, this adds such a natural glow. You can definitely see like a gold sheen right here, but I think that underneath makeup, it looks so natural. It does have a little bit of a scent to it, but I don't think it's fragrance, like an added fragrance or anything. And this one I feel like isn't sticking as much. Maybe I didn't use as much product, but it doesn't feel as like grippy and sticky. So here is my other Hydro Grip primer. Let's just compare the textures of these. I'm just going to pump a little bit on the back of my hand of each of them. I'm just going to kind of rub both of them into the skin. The gold one does feel slightly less sticky from what I can tell. It feels a little bit more like a moisturizing primer. It does have more stick to it than, you know, your average primer though, I will say that. Well, it's kind of drying down similarly. Yeah, I think it actually has a very similar grip to it. If anything, at first swipe, the primer with the glow in it doesn't feel as sticky, but as it's drying down, it does have that similar stick to it. Yeah, I feel that now. Okay. So essentially it is the same, but with some added glow, which you guys know I love a glow. I love a dewy finish. I sound like a broken record at this point. I'm just gonna let these primers dry down and I'm just gonna do my brows really quickly. I wanna go in and do our eyeshadow first, and really quickly, I also received these Laura Mercier eyeshadow Caviar sticks. Caviar eye colors, and these are the brand new reformulated shimmer shades. I have a couple of them. I don't think I have all of them, but I do have a few and I'm really excited about these. I have tested out one of them already, which is the shade Burnished Bronze. I talked about this in our shop with me video, my most recent shop with me video, and I really like this color. I think it's beautiful. They did send me more shades. I will insert a photo right here for you guys of some swatches that I posted on my Instagram story. If you don't follow me there, make sure you follow me because I do like PR hauls in my stories, so you guys can kind of see like what to expect in my videos next. But I think I want to play with the shades Amethyst and Strapless, maybe one or both. This is the shade Amethyst, and I was afraid that this would look a little bit too cool, but on the back of my hand, it actually looks like it would be a decently warm tone if it's paired correctly. Here's the shade Strapless. Now these two together I think would pull really, really cool. So I think, what do I want to do? I don't want to go too crazy. I am getting coffee with a friend this afternoon, so I don't want to go like super smoky eye or anything. Who knows? I probably will end up looking like that, but let's see. I don't know. Let's try strapless. I feel like strapless all over the eyelid might be really pretty. We also have this shade in Sugar Frost, but this might be a little too bright. Yeah, that's a little bright. I'm gonna use my eye primer on one eyelid and then leave the other one bare just so I can see at the end of the day how this is lasting. So I'm just putting primer on this side. I crease a lot right here in this inner corner, even with eye primer, so I just wanna make sure that I get that. So first off, I want to go in with the shade Strapless. I'm going to go all over the eyelid with this and just blend it out, really blow it out so it's a little bit more subtle, a little bit more muted, I guess. So I'm going to go in on this side, and this is the side without any eye primer. So I'm just drawing it on, and I think I want to take my finger and just blend this out. When I swatched these in stores, they did not want to come off. Like, I used the makeup remover that they have at Sephora, and this was not coming off. I was really impressed. I was really excited about it too. If it stays put all day, I'm sold. I love a one and done eyeshadow, you guys. You know that. Oh, it's kind of going away. Do you see that? Like, it's disappearing and it's kind of just sticking on my finger. Let me see if I can use a brush. They're really creamy though. I hate when an eyeshadow stick just tugs at your eyelids. Makes it super uncomfortable. Okay, now it's like really high up. It's kind of splotchy. Like, it looks like it's not really holding on where my eyelid is, my crease right there. It seems to be a little bit, do you see that? Like this line right here. It doesn't seem like it wants to hold on there. I do experience this from time to time with eyeshadow sticks though. I don't know what it is about the formulations. Maybe before I blend it out, I'll let it just sit for a little bit, for a couple seconds, and then I'll blend it. That's a little better. I'm using this BK A501 brush just to blend out the edges here. And I'm gonna go in on this side with the eyeshadow primer. I'm gonna draw it on, and I'll probably let it sit for a couple seconds before I actually blend it out, just to see if that helps with the pigmentation. I'm gonna really pack this on. Look, that's really pretty pigment right there. That's a nice color. It's not too cool either, so if you're more on the neutral warm side, I actually don't think that this is gonna look too jarring on your skin tone. So now I'm gonna blend out just the edges here. Yeah, I think letting it sit for a couple seconds and then blending it out helped. Now I do have primer on this side, so that can also be playing a factor, but I'm just gonna have to figure that out as I continue to wear these. Ooh, that blended out way easier, and I think that we were able to conserve that like pigmentation right there in the crease. Okay, I like that. And just to use another color, let's use the shade Amethyst just on the outer corners here. Hopefully it shows up against this shade. I think this will just add a little bit of definition. Gonna wipe my brush off and then use the same one just to blend it out. These are definitely really, really creamy, so you're not gonna have any trouble blending these out. However, I think that you're gonna have to kind of build the pigmentation up in the area that you want it, just to make sure that it doesn't completely blend away. But there's no skipping of any sorts, I don't think. It looks really nice. It looks messy, but whenever we get the full face going here, it should start to look a little bit more cleaned up. I'll just trust the process. I wish they had a straight up like shimmery brown tone, just a neutral brown. I feel like I would love wearing that. The burnished bronze shade is probably the closest one to that, except that one does pull a little bit more on the red side of things. Yeah, as long as you blend this with a light hand, beautiful. That looks good. I like that. All right, so I went ahead and just put a little bit of mascara on, and now we are gonna go in with foundation. I do have this LYS stick foundation in the shade TG1. I have a whole video reviewing this and talking about my experience over the course of a couple of days. So we're just gonna be using this because it is the newest foundation that I have, and just a spoiler for you guys, I do really like this foundation. I think that it works on my skin super well, covers up my hyperpigmentation, feels slightly creamy without being greasy. I really, really like this, and I think I'm going to be taking this on some trips with me coming up. I have just been blending this out with my fingers actually, which is something I don't normally do, but with a lot of stick foundations recently, I have been doing that. However, today, just because I don't feel like getting my fingers all dirty, I'm going to use this Sigma Multitasker F47 brush. It's a beautiful brush to just blend out any complexion products. It's so fluffy and dense at the same time. It never leaves streaks on your skin, but you can see how easy the foundation is to blend. Literally a couple of buffs and a couple of swipes here and it's already completely blended in. It's beautiful. This shade is slightly darker than my neck. However, I think that the shade lighter than this, that's a neutral tone, would probably be too light. And I feel like for me, it looks a lot more natural to make a foundation that's darker, a little bit lighter with concealers and powders and stuff versus getting a foundation that's too light and darkening it up with bronzers. I've been making it work though. I really like it. My nose has been slightly dry too because I'm getting over a cold, but this does not emphasize it whatsoever. And I'm gonna go in with a light second layer just on the spots that I feel like I need extra coverage here, almost like a concealer. And I'm taking my A506 brush. This is the brush that I usually use for my color corrector and my concealers, and I'm just going to blend that out. I feel like this is just going to really target the areas that I want the product at versus spreading it all over the face. This also wears throughout the day beautifully. Like, it looks flawless. If you have oily skin, I would not be afraid of this stick foundation because as long as you set it down with powder and some sort of setting spray, I think you'll be good to go. Now for a product I have not yet used. This is from Pacifica. This is the Dreamlit Under Eye Brightener. They did send this to me with a couple of other things. And look at this, guys. This looks scary. It's just straight up white. It almost looks like a highlight in a sense. I have not even felt this. Let's see. Okay, feels very lightweight, very, very thin. Oh, that's a little scary. I feel like it's gonna leave almost like a white cast, but we'll see how it does, especially under concealer. I could be wrong. They did send me one of their concealers, but unfortunately the shade that they sent was a little bit too dark. I think that's on me though. I'm pretty sure that I chose that color. So I'm gonna take another A506 brush. This is a clean one. And I think I'm gonna start off with a very minimal amount here and just right on those inner parts. What is the point of this? Let's see what it says. Instantly minimizes the appearance of puffiness and fine lines with a temporary lifting effect that incorporates light reflecting minerals to help brighten. So it sounds like it's going to be a skincare and makeup product in one. Do we see some brightening going on? I don't know. I can't say that it looks instantly brighter. Maybe I didn't use enough. Should we use some more? That is not as scary as I thought it was gonna be. It kind of just blended in. Okay, I can see the brightening effects with more product. It almost looks like it has a little bit of a yellow, like illuminating sheen to it, which works on my skin tone. I don't know how it would work for those of you that have a cooler skin tone. Oh, it looks nice. Definitely doesn't look like a concealer, obviously. There's no like real pigment to it. But I think that this would be a pretty good, almost under eye primer because it feels hydrating. It almost feels like a gel eye cream. All right, guys, I have it blended here. Take a look at what this looks like. Do we see anything going on? Honestly, just looking at it here, I don't see much of a difference. Maybe it brightened the eyes a little bit. I could see this working really well if you have a concealer that might be a little too dark for what you want under the eyes, and maybe mixing this would help. I'm not sure yet how I feel. Doesn't seem bad, doesn't feel heavy. It kind of like dries down. Let's just go in with some concealer. I'm gonna use this Bare Minerals Bare Pro concealer in the shade Medium 300 Neutral. This is slightly more on the matte side, but I like the coverage that this gives me a lot. And maybe this under eye brightener would work well if you have more of a matte concealer that you sort of want to rehydrate or make it a little bit less matte on the skin. I've been loving the subtle brightness that this shade in particular has been giving my complexion. And my under eyes just look really clean when I use this. For bronzer, I don't necessarily have a new one, but I have been using a new one for myself. And it's actually not a bronzer. This is a foundation stick from Basma Beauty, and this is in the shade number 10. So they did send me a couple of the foundations a few months ago, and I already previously owned my shade for like the actual foundation. So I already knew that I really liked this formula. And now I have this shade that works really well as a bronzer on my skin tone. It's slightly more on the warm side. I think it actually works pretty well for a bronzer, not necessarily a contour. This is a Fenty Beauty brush, by the way, the 125 face brush. And I like to take this and kind of pull it into my hairline. Hence why I'm getting a lot of hairs on my face. And I take it pretty high on the cheeks because again, I'm using this as a bronzer, not a contour. So anywhere that my cheeks would just naturally get bronzed from the sun. And look at that. Looks like such a natural bronze, doesn't it? I really like it. Now, I don't know if I should be taking this under the chin because this is, again, not necessarily a contour shade, it's a bronzer shade, but I think it works. You guys let me know if it's not working. And I'm gonna take just a little bit by the nose, or on the nose rather, to contour slightly to warm it up. And I really like this because it has really good coverage. So it doesn't like swipe away where I place this, you know? Even though it's not my shade, I feel like it still has good pigmentation to where it sort of lends a hand to the pigmentation. All right, because I want to go a little bit more subtle, not as much contour and bronze and all that stuff, I think I'm going to leave it there. Maybe I'll make it a little bit darker later, but I want to move on to this liquid blush from L'Oreal. These are the Lumi Lay Liquid blushes, and I have it in the shade 601 Dewy Worth It. This looked like such a beautiful shade. It really reminded me of Magic Hour from Tower 28. You know, they're like cream blush. It has a big doe foot applicator right here. I'll show you guys what this looks like. It's just this beautiful pinky, slightly peach tone, but it's a little bit more on the pale pink side of things, or I guess pale rose side of things. And I'm taking this BK Nikki LaRose N17 brush, and I'm just going to take this on that brush, really distribute it here, and put it right there on the tops of the cheeks. Beautiful. It's just this really nice flush of color, I think. This would probably look absolutely gorgeous if you're a little bit tanner than I am, because I feel like it would pull slightly more peach, especially if you have a warmer undertone. I think that this would look great on lighter complexions as well. Just in general, this is one of those more wearable shades for a wider range of complexions, in my opinion. Now, if you have a rich skin tone, I'm not sure how this would pool on you. I'm trying to learn more about like actual blush and bronzer formulations, because I've learned from Gloria, actually. She talks about how a lot of blushes that have white pigmentation and white in them just do not show up pigmented on darker complexions. So I'm trying to tell, like I want to learn more about whenever I see a blush shade, like if it would actually show up on deeper skin tones, and I cannot tell with this. You guys let me know if you have some knowledge on, I guess, like blush formulations. Do you think that this would work on a deeper skin tone? I'm very curious to know. Very pigmented, I will say. It's nice and pigmented, and also I appreciate the fact that this isn't overly greasy on the skin. If you have oily skin such as me, I think that this actually would work pretty well. It would set down. You're definitely going to get more of a dewy look. That's just kind of the nature of, you know, a liquid blush, but I think a liquid versus a cream blush will give you less dew. And once we set this down, I think it's going to look pretty good. I might actually have to go in with a little bit more once we use powder. But before we do that, I also received this Laura Mercier liquid highlight in peach bronze. It's one of those little sponge tip applicators that I don't like that much, but you can open and close this, which is nice. Let's see what this looks like before we put this on the face. Oh, this seems like it's gonna go really well with that blush. Let's try it. Wait, that's really pretty. I'm just gonna take the other side of this. Let's do a little bit less. Now, I just talked about how this would look really good on oily skin because it doesn't add extra dew, but we are adding sort of that dewy look with this highlight, and that's really pretty. I appreciate these days a highlight that has some like blush pigmentation to it because I almost use them as a blush topper, which I never used to do when highlight was huge, you know? But I feel like this is much more of a soft transition from going from highlight to blush using it as a topper. Okay, so now we're gonna set the face. I do have two powders that I have been testing out. I have the Makeup by Mario one in the shade Neutral Peach number 3, and then I have the Tower 28 Get Set Translucent powder. This is just a translucent shade. I'm gonna use that as a finishing powder. And then this does have a little bit of pigment to it, and it does have the sifter, but you can also remove this. I don't know if they mean to do this, but it is loose enough to where you can just remove that and dip in right there. I'm pretty sure I saw somewhere that that was intentional. I could be wrong though. I like this, but I will say that it is not the strongest setting powder that I've used. I think that this is nice to set the face, but I don't know just yet how I feel about this being a baking powder, you know? But I'm still gonna use it to bake just so we can, again, experiment, test it out, and form our thoughts on it. If you're not big on baking, and you like to just set the face, you know, with a brush and a light dusting, I think you would like this because it does seem very blurring. And I'm actually going to switch over to a brush here. This is the N14 from BK and Nikki LaRose. I'm going to get a pretty generous amount on here and just dust this. See how blurred the skin looks? I am sweating. I do like the finish that this leaves on my skin, and I appreciate this color because it's definitely a peach. Like, it's not yellow, it doesn't necessarily darken anything. I don't think that it darkens the under eyes either. It pretty much stays the same. You can kind of see here the blurring effects from this powder. I'll just do this side to show you guys. Do you see how it kind of mattified my forehead? It's not too mattifying to where it feels really dry and tight on the skin. You still can see a good amount of that glow, which I really appreciate. This is definitely a generous dusting, but we still look pretty natural. Like, and by natural, I mean, it doesn't look like the powder is settling anywhere or caking anywhere, so I really like that. I'm trying to go in with a pretty light hand. Now, I don't think I would necessarily use this powder to sculpt out my cheeks the way that I normally do, like taking a big bake of this powder. I don't know if it would do that much. We should try it though. Maybe it'll give more of a subtle, like chisel, you know? And then I'm going to dust this off. I just love the blurring effect from this powder. I think it looks very nice. I'm gonna dust any excess with a clean brush. I think I will go in with a little bit of bronzer, like powder bronzer. This is just the Sephora Collection bronzer. So I went ahead and finished my eyes. I did a little bit of amethyst underneath my eyes, and I also added some of the shade Sugar Frost in the inner corner. I love it. I think it looks beautiful because it has a slight champagne gold sheen to it, so it looks a little bit more natural under my eyes or in the inner corners of my eyes. So, oh, okay. Now we're gonna go in, finish the face with a little bit of the Tower 28 powder. Now I think that this one would actually work really well and shine as a blotting powder throughout the day. So I'll have to let you guys know how that works. But I am gonna use this just to finish off the face. I'm already looking super blurred though from that Makeup by Mario powder. So I don't know how much of a difference this is actually gonna make, but we're gonna do it anyways. Looks pretty flawless in my opinion. And then I got this super cool NARS PR package. I think it's my first NARS PR package, but it has their explicit matte lipsticks in here. I pulled the one out that I want to use. This one is in the shade Temptation. And again, I did post a photo on my Instagram stories swatching all of these, but this is the shade Temptation. It's slightly warmer and pink from what I kind of want it to be. So I'm going to pair it with these Laura Mercier lip liners. I have the shade Rosewood and Brown Tulle that I pulled out. And I think I'm going to use Rosewood just to kind of neutralize the lips first before we go in with that lipstick, because I think this will help tone it down a little from how warm it is. All right, and then going in, I think I just want to blot a little bit Ooh, it's pigmented. That actually gave me a lot of pigmentation just by blotting. It feels quite hydrating for a matte. Is this a satin matte? What are these? I think they're supposed to be satin matte. That feels nice. I don't know if this lip goes with these eyes and these cheeks, but this is what we're working with, guys. It's kind of the nature of trying out new products. Sometimes the colors and the shades and stuff don't really go together, but it's a great way to learn the different formulas and textures. All right, so this is the finished face, you guys. Like I said, I don't know how I feel about how much all of this goes together, but let's talk about the different products that we used. First, let's talk complexion. So this again seems like a really good moisturizer. I feel like it does have slightly more of a slip to it, which is probably why they say to use like your makeup or like your foundation on top of this before it dries, because from what I can remember, the Merit like complexion stick, it's slightly drier on the skin. So I feel like this would actually help with the slip. So in general, if you have more of a matte foundation, if you need something that's going to really even out your complexion before you go in with your foundations or even your concealers, this seems like it's going to be a good option. It feels like a really nice, no fuss type of moisturizer as well. I like the Milk Hydro Grip with the glow. I actually feel like this gold looks so intimidating in the bottle, but it actually works incredibly well on the skin. I appreciate the fact that it's not chunky glitter. It's actually almost a sheen that just sort of melts into the skin, especially for my complexion. I can't say exactly how this is going to work on other skin tones, but I do think, and from what I've seen online, I think it is a little bit more versatile than just like a straight up gold highlight, let's say. So I enjoy this. I like the fact that it's not super pigmented and it still has that really good sticky formulation to it. And I think if you pinpoint this in the areas where you have a little bit more trouble with your makeup sticking, this is going to work really well for you. I don't want to talk too much about the foundation stick. If you want to see a really in-depth review wear test demo type of video, I will link that down in the description box down below for you guys, but I really like this foundation. I'm on the fence about this Pacifica Under Eye Brightener. I'm not quite sure how much it actually brightened my under eyes on its own. I'm gonna have to test this out, continue to see how it works with different concealers, maybe with no foundation underneath and on its own, even just like on regular skincare. I feel like that might actually be a really nice, very subtle, just brightening effect. But so far, it's okay. It's not terrible though. I think it added a little bit of moisture under the eyes, which is nice. This Laura Mercier highlight, I really like this. I think, again, it's a beautiful topper for my blush. I feel like you can still see it even underneath that powder, which I appreciate. And if you have like more dry skin and you're looking for something to top a matte blush, this I think is going to be really nice. And I didn't see it get chunky. I didn't see any of the sheen or metallic just sticking to any parts of my face, which is really nice. I appreciate that a lot. These Caviar eye sticks, I think take a little bit of practice, but I do like the fact that it's more on the creamy side versus on the dry side. I feel like it makes it a lot easier to work with. We'll see how it wears with the primer versus without the eye primer. And like I said, I think you're gonna have to swipe on a good layer of this, let it set for a couple of seconds before blending out the edges, just to preserve that pigmentation from these. But so far, so good. I do like these a lot, and I think I want to check out some of the matte formulas. I like this blush. It is quite expensive when we're talking drugstore, but if we're talking liquid blushes in general on the market, I think it's really nice. I appreciate the fact that this has no sheen to it whatsoever. I know that Maybelline came out with the Sun Kisser blushes, and all of those were very glowy and metallic on the skin. I didn't really like those much at all, but this reminds me of a high-end formulation. I like the pigmentation to it. I really like this shade, and I think it sets down very well. And again, I think that this will actually work really nicely on oily skin. The powders, again, I feel like this is not going to be a baking powder. I think it's going to be more of a general face setting powder, but the blur that this gives your skin is so beautiful. Like my skin right now looks airbrushed. I think that it looks absolutely flawless. And I really enjoy the fact that this does not like oxidize on the skin. I really like this neutral peach shade that they came out with. I think that it's going to be perfect for my skin tone year round. The Tower 28 one, like I said, I want to test this out as a blotting powder throughout the day. I think that this is going to do the best as a blotting powder for me. I don't think that this is going to be something that I can use on its own to set the face. I definitely think that this is more on the finishing powder side of things for myself. These lip liners, they're good, they're slightly creamy, and they have a little bit of a dry down to them. I'm not sure about the longevity just yet, so I will let you guys know. I'll update you in the description box down below. And I like that this satin matte lipstick does have a true satiny matte look to them. I do want more of the neutral tones. I want something a little bit more pinky brown, which all of the shades that they sent are very vibrant shades. So I think that if I play around with this more and I really like the formula of this, I will pick up one of the more neutral tones. Okay guys, that was everything for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think about all of these new launches in the comments down below. If there's anything that I missed that you are excited about, that you're looking forward to getting your hands on, let me know. I would love to know what is on your radar. If you guys enjoyed it, if you found it helpful, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this one. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.